Hey world, what up? So the gimmicks of Mr. James Harden and Russell Westbrook has finally reached kind of to a peaking point as of right now. So we've all known the news from a couple of days ago that Russell Westbrook was traded to the Washington Wizards for John Wall in the first round pick. Now where that leaves Mr. James Harden is in a peculiar situation. There's been a lot of escalations ever since Russell Westbrook was traded. Even before that, James Harden stated he wanted to stay on the franchise. They wanted to build up to contend, yada yada. But snowball effects are kind of playing in place. Steven Silas, he has no idea where James Harden's at. We've seen now James Harden's been in the strip clubs and, normal clubs as usual, as we kind of seen the case. And the NBA pretty much has stated with Adam Silver that every franchise, they can't go out to any bars or any nightlife like that whenever the season starts. So James Harden's in a weird situation. He's not even attending any practices. He skipped the individual practice at nighttime, and he did stated, "Hey guys, I'll be back for another time." So the Rockets right now are in anarchy. There's chaos going on internally. Now you do have John Wall, Boogie Cousins, who are new additions to the team and franchise. Both of them have had major injuries, and they're trying to have those bounce back year. James Harden is in a situation now to where he sees he wants to win a ring, and he's trying to force himself out of the Houston Rockets organization, preferably to the Brooklyn Nets. Now, do I expect that to happen for him to go over to be shipped off to Brooklyn? No, I do not. The GM and for the Houston Rockets, they pretty much want, quote unquote, the farm from James Harden. And I've always stated I don't expect the Brooklyn Nets trade to go through. Even some people are stating Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jarrett Allen and picks. But I mean, they're nice young pieces, but but for James Harden, you're not going to make a trade for that. I think right now for James Harden, through his desperation, wanting to quote unquote win a ring, and in Philadelphia, you do have Daryl Morey as the new GM there, and he likes to go big. I can actually see now the more tension and more of a demand for the Philadelphia 76ers and Houston Rockets make a swap for Ben Simmons for James Harden. I think that's probably going to have to be the move. Now, do I agree with that if I'm Philadelphia? No. If I'm the Rockets, you're going to have to. You're going to have to be in the rebuilding stage. But the Rockets messed up because you traded Westbrook for John Wall. So I have no idea what's going on. I think they're trying to retain James Harden's morale by bringing in John Wall. And it's weird, guys, because you got James Harden who said he would particularly want to play with John Wall to make that trade go down. But then now you see these behaviors from James Harden. So personally, how I kind of see things to be, we're already in training camp. You have the season that's going to start in around 2 weeks from now. I expect James Harden to play the first half of the season, and we could kind of see an Anthony Davis situation to where James Harden can either get traded during the trade deadline or he has to stick it up for one more season for Houston. But let's jump into here on ESPN's The Jump, see what these cats have to say about this, and I'll give my take.
They still have to do something about James Harden. I don't think Wall's arrival is enough to make James Harden want to stay in Houston, and that's where my issue lies with this, Kendrick.
Well, Max, you spoke the gospel, and Stephen A., you was speaking a little bit of the gospel until that last part where you said it was a wash. Look, let me tell you something. It's no even trade between John Wall and the Russell Westbrook. That's not even. It's a bigger deal with Russell Westbrook going to the Washington Wizards. Look, we got to stop. We got to stop this. It's a separation between the two. We're talking about a guy who could possibly be in the MVP conversation every single year in Russell Westbrook, a guy that won the MVP, a guy that averaged a triple-double for 3 consecutive seasons, a guy that was blessed by the great Kobe Bryant with the Mamba mentality that is landing with the Washington Wizards. Now, here's why I say it's a bigger deal. When you look at what Russell Westbrook brings to the table, he's going over there with Scott Brooks. I was with Russ and Scott Brooks when we were up in Oklahoma City, and it was one coach that I seen hold Russ accountable, and that was Scotty Brooks, and Russ took it. Russ got the ultimate respect for Scott Brooks, and it's vice versa. Another thing, Russell Westbrook is going to do great for Bradley Beal, and here's why. Look at what Paul George did when he played under Russell Westbrook. We were talking about him possibly winning the MVP. He was an MVP finalist. And him and Paul George and Bradley Beal are on the same level. So you go and put Bradley Beal, a
Yep.
guy who doesn't need the ball in his hands, alongside a guy like Russell Westbrook, who could get him easy shots where he don't have to work as hard. He could possibly lead the league in scoring the way that Bradley Beal is capable of putting the ball in the bucket.
I'm not too crazy about the tandem, the dynamic duo of Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. And in the NBA, this is a fault to GMs. You have too many point guard and shooting guard dynamic duos together as your main core pieces, and that cannot be the case if you want to win a championship or go deep in the playoffs. For example, John Wall and Bradley Beal, CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard, and then so on and so forth. We need to see players like James Harden be paired with a scoring wing. We need to see players like Russell Westbrook be paired with a scoring wing. Even though he was paired with Paul George and they never got past through the first round of the playoffs, it was still a nice duo to come through it. Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, it's going to be fine. The only reason why I'm saying it's going to be fine, you're in the Eastern Conference. And while you're into the East, Russ can easily become an all-star. I was shocked that Bradley Beal wasn't an all-star last season when he averaged 30. But Bradley Beal will be an all-star this season with Russell Westbrook. They will make the playoffs. They will be in the top 6 to top 8. I expect them in that range. I expect the GM for the Wizards to make more roster moves because you have a lot of young cats on the Washington Wizards. And I did like that you were able to draft Denny Avdija at the 9th pick. I think he's going to be very underrated. He'll be top 3 for Rookie of the Year candidate. For the Houston Rockets, I think it's an L because for James Harden right now, you either got to make a decision if you're the GM. If you're going to completely rebuild, then you should have done that. But you pretty much shown the whole NBA. You show James Harden, hey, I'm trading John Wall. I'm getting John Wall so we can retool. Brought in Boogie Cousins. So they want to run it back, which makes sense if you're the Rockets GM because they want to have their superstar. But in all reality, you got to rebuild. The James Harden experiment is over with. It's been around 8 seasons, and I've stated this before. His peak and their peak to win was in 2018. That was the highest, and then 2019 was a redemption, and they folded. So the thing is, you gotta let go of James Harden. You gotta rebuild, go a new direction. The West is stacked. You got new up and coming star teams like the Dallas Mavericks are here. Now you have the New Orleans Pelicans who are going to be healthy with Zion. You now have the Phoenix Suns with CP3, and you have a better Devin Booker on that team. Who knows about the Minnesota Timberwolves? So the West is going up. And if you're the Rockets, if you're staying neutral, that makes 0 sense. So I expect it's probably not going to be now, probably in the trade deadline, that the Rockets finally realize that they're going to have to blow it up and rebuild. So I think most likely we're going to see a Ben Simmons for James Harden swap, neither in the trade deadline or in the following offseason. If you're the Wizards, you had to make the move to bring in Russell Westbrook. I don't blame them too much on that. Big picture, the Wizards, I would have just blown it up. Just get draft picks and start off fresh, start off new. I don't expect too much with Bradley Beal and Russ. I think they'll have a fun season together, but that's probably just like a 2-year experiment. So I don't know.
And here's another thing. We're forgetting about a guy by the name of David Bertans. Yes, he's not a household
Davis, Bertans, Mr. Kendrick Perkins. Carry on.
name, but when it comes down to being one of the best shooters in the NBA, damn it, that's him. That's him. You talk about shooting from the parking lot, Stephen A. He's shooting it from the private jet. He got a ratchet on him. I like Rui Hachimura. I like them adding Big Lopez. I like the kid Thomas Bryant who's probably going to come in as a backup center or maybe even start. He's a double-double guy, a great rebounder, great rim protector.
Hey, man, the Washington Wizards, they have an okay team. Again, it's a bunch of young cats, and then you got Bradley Beal, who's 27, who's pretty much in his peak of his career, and then Russ. They're going to make some roster moves. I expect them to bring in a couple more veterans on the team. I think they're probably going to sign Taj Gibson in free agency. I know he's still out there. Don't really know about too many other veterans that can help out, but basically you're looking at a starting lineup of Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal. At the 3, they're probably going to have Denny Avdija. At the 4, you're going to have either Davis Bertans, let alone Roy Hamurka. I don't know how to spell his last name. And then at the 5, Thomas Bryant. The team's young. I expect them still squeak into the playoffs, even when the teams are getting better in the Eastern Conference. But I expect more roster moves on that. And if you're Russell Westbrook, man, you're going to average pretty much a triple-double. You're going to be an instant all-star. You're going to have the ball in your hands. James Harden was more of a ball hog. He needed the ball in his hands. High usage percentage. Bradley Beal can play off the ball. He understands. And same thing with Russ. He's going to let Bradley Beal get going on the offense because Russ knows he can't score from the outside. He's going to let Bradley Beal do his thing. I still expect Bradley Beal to average around 27 a game. I think those two, they're going to be dynamic because Russ, whenever he's in a new environment and he already goes 100%, I think this gives him new motivation, new goal, and we're going to see a bounce back season for Russell Westbrook.
Also, you have Troy Brown, who's a feisty individual at the wing that could go and defend. And then on top of that, you have a guy that is well respected in the league by every single person. Every single person, and that's Smith. Smith comes in the game, he changed the tempo and everything.
Hold on.
And then you have Scottie Assistant and Robert Pat. Hold on, you taking this L today. And then he have
Yo, KP out here thinks he's a gangster. He takes every W. Kendrick Perkins, I'm going to let this slide because you're entertaining. Carry on.
Robert Pat, who Russ respects more,
taking
who was
an
down
L
there
for
with
what?
him in OKC.
What did I say that requires an L?
I'm trying to teach because I'm trying to teach you the gospel why it's a bigger deal for for the Washington Wizards.
Kendrick Perkins is out of here. You say Philadelphia. He probably heard my monologue.
To get Russ, then
They
John
gonna go to the
Wall
playoffs.
going to the Rockets. They
gonna go to the playoffs and then they gonna go home, KP?
That's what I don't
They're
know
one
that.
player.
I don't know that because I
The
know
Washington
one thing.
Wizards are one player away from being a real problem.
I don't know that. I don't
They're
know.
one player.
Mr. Kellerman, you say that for any single team. You can say that for any dynamic duo out there whatsoever. The Washington Wizards, you're not going to build a championship team with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. They understand that, even though Russ put a quote out there that they can have a championship type team and something along those lines. Listen, everyone knows in Washington, they're not going to win a championship. They're going to get bounced in the first round of the playoffs. They'll be a 6 through an 8 seed. Now, I'm being nice when I say a 6 seed, but they'll be a 6 through an 8 seed. You still have the Boston Celtics. You still got the Philadelphia 76ers, the Brooklyn Nets, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Toronto Raptors, probably missing the Miami Heat. And that's 6 teams right now. I didn't even mention the Indiana Pacers. Didn't even mention about the new rejuvenated young Atlanta Hawks. The Charlotte Hornets will probably be in that picture somewhat. I think I may miss one more team, but the Washington Wizards, they're going to be a 6 through an 8 seed, preferably 7 through 8. They're going to be bounced in the first round of the playoffs. Now, individually, this will be great for Russ and for Bradley Beal. But as a team, collectively, if it's an 82 game season, I expect that team to be like 45 and 37. Since it's going to be a 72 game win season, I expect them to be probably around low 40s, high 30s, somewhere in that mix, if anything. Oh, in the East, I even forgot about the Orlando Magic. So, I don't know about that. Even if they did get a third quote-unquote guy like a LaMarcus Aldridge, whatever, it's still not nice. It's still nothing out there.
I
away
don't
from
know
being a
that.
real
All
problem.
I know is that every time I step in the arena and I have a guy like Russell Westbrook, I like my chances on winning a basketball game. A healthy Russell Westbrook at that.
Let me respond to both of y'all on both of y'all.
Well, Mr. Kendrick Perkins, Russ as the number one option has lost 3 first-round matchups in the playoffs, year after year after year.
Points here. First of all, as it pertains to Russell Westbrook just finished averaging 27. I know he's a superstar talent, and I know that he's an upgrade from John Wall. What I'm talking about when I say it's a wash, I'm not comparing John Wall and Russell Westbrook in terms of talent. I'm saying their game is somewhat similar.
And I've said this before, Russell Westbrook, since he's based everything off athleticism, whenever he starts decreasing in his game and he's out of his peak, it's going to be more evident to show. He does not have a jumper. He does not have basketball IQ. He is chaotic on the basketball court. So now we're in the later years of Russell Westbrook, we're going to see him start getting bounced from team to team to team. Kind of like Shaquille O'Neal when he got bounced around, Grant Hill, yada, yada. So with Russell Westbrook, this is his third franchise. He is 31, 32 years of age. It was just his birthday, I believe, like around a week ago or so. And Russ's jumper is not getting any better, let alone his athleticism will go down pretty soon. And as a point guard, you need to shoot, you need to have IQ. And being in your later years, that's not going to help out the Russ. I expect Russ probably be bounced around 2 to 3 more teams in his franchise. Probably ended off in OKC for one last year for a farewell tour or whatever when he's like 35, 36. But overall, the Washington Wizards, they want to keep Bradley Beal. They want to keep something moving and rolling along. So we're going to see this go along. But basically, the Rockets and the Wizards, they should have blown it up each. They should have.
Comes to being paired with James Harden. So as a result of that, if James Harden is still there doing what James Harden has done, how is that going to be any different for you than when you had Russ there? That's all I mean by that. I'm not talking about how John Wall can average 27 to 30 like Russell Westbrook can.
Out of
I
there.
know better than that. I'm just talking about that. As it pertains to Daryl Morey, profound respect and love for Daryl Morey, Max Kellerman. I know what an exceptional executive is. I think the Sixers are lucky to have him. But keep in mind, he was there for about 13 years, okay? Had a top 5 payroll every time. They never got to the finals. All I'm saying to you is at some point in time, when I look at Raphael Stone, for example, right now, he got 3 first rounds. He's got that Cat Woods from the Pistons. Okay, you just picked up Wall. I'm not sure about all of that. But again, the proof in the pudding is going to see what he can get for James Harden. The flip
Rockets
side to
will
it is
be
let's not
irrelevant
talk
for the
about the
next
Houston
3 years.
Rockets like they got.
And the Rockets need to be irrelevant for the next 3 years of not making the playoffs and not having much success. But the Rockets should be a nice sideshow if you have Ben Simmons out there, and that should be your target. There's nothing out there in the market that you can pretty much get, quote unquote, the right pick for James Harden in the market. There's nothing. I mean, if you send him to Miami, maybe if you get Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, I don't know if the Miami Heat will go that direction. I know they want to keep those young cats, pair him with Jimmy Butler and possibly Giannis Antetokounmpo in free agency of 2021. I know that's their top plan. But if I'm the Rockets, man, I would try to go for those young cats in Miami. I doubt that would happen since Miami has other plans out there. If that doesn't work out, you go for Ben Simmons. I mean, Ben Simmons is what? He's like 24 years of age. He's going to be a generational talent, and he is. And it's bad because you're forcing him to be on, a poverty team pretty much for the next 2 seasons in the Western Conference. You won't make the playoffs, but you got to do what you got to do. You got to build for the future. You need to get young cats. You need to get cap flexibility and draft picks. We can see Sam Pressly over there in OKC. He's doing the right thing. He understands the Thunder. They had that one season with Chris Paul. It was nice. They made to Game 7 the first round. They overexceeded. And then you blow it up. You trade them away. You get first-round picks, cap flexibility. And yeah, the Thunder, the next 2-3 seasons, they're going to be the lower echelon, but they're preparing for the next couple of seasons. That's what the Rockets, that's what the Wizards need to do themselves.
Got a chip to show for all their troubles over the last 15 years, because that has not been the case.
The Rockets had a Game 7 against
And
the
they would've lost
73-win
that,
Warriors,
too.
who then added KD.
They would've lost
Rockets
that,
had a
too.
Game 7 at home. Whatever,
hold
they had
on,
a Game
Steve.
7
Hold
at
on,
home
Stephen
against
A.
that team. The Cavs had nothing for them.
Stephen A,
Real
let
quick,
Max
hold
go.
on, real quick, Perk. Perk,
No, I want you to go, Max.
The
Keep
Wizards
going.
right now went from a team that, thank you, Perk. The Wizards right now went from a team that was buried with a bad John Wall deal, an aging player who may never be the same, and they were irrelevant, and they weren't going anywhere. They went from that to suddenly, if they pick up another all-star player somehow, if an Oladipo, or maybe not Oladipo, but someone like that becomes available and they can add him to the mix, add a guy to, suddenly the Wizards are live. They went from forget about the next several years. They're buried. They're irrelevant. They're
No, they're
terrible.
live. They're gonna make the playoffs.
Damn, Washington suddenly is live.
He said Victor Oladipo. Russ plays the 1. Bradley Beal plays the 2. You're not going to pick up Oladipo, who's the same combo guard. No, sir. Listen, if you're the Wizards, I mean, if you can pick up, honestly, you can pick up DeMar DeRozan. He's got 1 year left of his contract with the Spurs since he opted in. You can play along that little 1-year season. See how they do all 3 together. And the Wizards, they actually do have a bunch of younger cats on their team. So You can trade away. I mean, you could trade away some of these young cats like Troy Brown and maybe possibly like I don't know, Ryu Hakam Rio, maybe Thomas Bryant, and you can flip that for DeMar DeRozan. Um, I don't know, maybe like Patty Mills or something, a veteran from the Spurs. The Spurs want to go young. They want to let go of DeMar DeRozan. And if you're the Wizards, you pick up DeMar DeRozan. Actually, I would kind of like that. I would kind of like that core three for a season, of course. Now, if you pick up DeMar DeRozan with those two, the Wizards would be a top five seed in the East, I would kind of expect. But I don't know. I don't know, man. At the end of the day, they're not going to win a championship. You're not going to get past the second round, basically. It's kind of it's a useless discussion we're kind of having here. I'm going to end it off here. Basically, for the Houston Rockets, they're in a peculiar situation with James Harden. You do have Boogie Cousins now and John Wall. I expect them to run a few games in the beginning of the season. I'm really curious to see if they will be in the playoff picture, let alone a top team in the Western Conference. That depends on James Harden's demeanor and how things go through. You do have new head coach Steven Silas. James Harden is not fond of him whatsoever. You can tell by his demeanor. So let's kind of look more into the Rockets. The Wizards, I think they'll be a pretty much somewhat of a fun team. I think Russ will be rejuvenated. We're going to see his stats inflate, and they will implode up to a triple-double average, let alone him and Bradley Beal will be a top 3, top 4 backcourt in the league. But besides from that, I'm out.